Listen, real quickly, your thoughts.
We hand it off to Herschel. There's a hole. 5, 10, 12. He's running over the people. Oh, you Herschel Walker. My God almighty, he ran right through 2 men.
All right, bro. Let's roll. Where do we even begin with week 2?
This is where we begin. I'm willing to start off, and I'm willing to overcome my biases, and I'm willing to overcome whatever I want to say. Congratulations. Great win for Georgia.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I'm glad you said that. I appreciate that.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's the game we should start off with just because it was the biggest game of the week. I think a couple things. I almost wanted to say this to you on the phone yesterday, but I thought this was maybe too hot of a take, but I didn't realize how a couple things. But the take I was going to say was, my take was that Stetson Bennett was going to outplay Bo Nix, which happened. Do I think Stetson Bennett is a better quarterback than Bo Nix? No. But the thing is that Stetson Bennett made plays when he needed to, and holy mother of God, just a couple of things from Auburn that, like, obviously their defense is nowhere near what it was last year. Like they had to they're completely reloading on defense. And you guys exposed them where it needed to be exposed. And Bo Nix is still a super, super immature quarterback that hasn't taken the steps from year 1 to year 2. Like last year, some of the stuff I thought, I was like, okay, he's a freshman. Like that's going to happen. But like zero pocket presence. Like and to be fair, his offensive line is trash. And the play calling was absolute booty.
Yeah.
So it didn't really help him out, but no, I mean, solid win for Georgia. The defense looked elite.
Bro, and people, you got to think LeCount got tossed in the first half.
Yep.
For targeting. So our best player wasn't on the field for most of the game. Yeah.
I mean, I think that Auburn's game plan fed right into how Georgia wanted them to play.
Yeah.
Which was like, number one, for example, like, and I'm talking about just heading into the future. The only concerns not even concerns, but where you take advantage of Georgia, like, this is me looking at it from a Florida fan's perspective, because I'm like, how do we beat this team?
Yeah.
And my thing is like, you spread out the offense, and you spread out the offense, and you take advantage of that. Like, and you kind of have to go air raid. And that's where I think I'm interested to see how you guys play against Alabama, because Alabama is able to do that. But like, for example, like Auburn really had the opportunity to keep it way closer than it was, but Bo Nix was not accurate on the deep ball.
No, not at all.
Like there were throws where it could have been 6.
Yeah, there were a couple throws where a guy was, even if not wide open, had a chance at a ball, and he just overthrew him or underthrew him or just missed them. And I think a lot of that came from, you said the Auburn offensive line play was suspect, but I think also that Georgia was doing a good job of mixing up how they were showing blitzes. Like, first off, they were doing a lot of interior blitzes. I mean, they blitzed up the middle several times, like directly into the pocket and forced them to mix flush. But then they were also, they had at one point, I think, it looked like they were going to bring 7 just by the alignment they had guys on. And then some drop back into coverage, some end up blitzing. There's a couple times they did that. Nobody blitzed. So I think they did a good job with a young, immature, inexperienced quarterback, inexperienced in the sense of he's only had 1 year, in college. Making him second guess things, making him run out of the pocket early, even though there wasn't pressure, making him have to make decisions that he didn't want to make, which is what you want to do against that kind of quarterback. I think also the thing that killed Auburn is Georgia has sideline to sideline speed on defense, man. It is crazy how fast they are side to side. And I know that sounds like coach speak, like something a coach would just say, like, oh, they got defense or speed. But bro, there was a play where a guy came in motion and Bo Nix hit him on the swing route while he was still in motion, and our opposite side safety came downhill and made the play in the backfield. And it's like, that's insane. That's ridiculous to have that kind of ability.
Well, the thing that, like, for example, like, I agree with you because, like, but the thing is like Auburn would run a quick screen with Anthony Schwartz, and like it would get 5 yards, and against any other defense, that's a first down, probably.
Yeah.
But the difference is like my thing with the play calling is they never went away from that.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm a coach, that's what I go to in the first quarter, let it work. And then obviously UGA is going to make adjustments, and then you take advantage of that and you start running crossing routes. You start running like a deep dig, a post, like this, that, and the other. So I just don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting Georgia like that. That's a great win. And I think I'm not even to be honest with you, it's the difference. The difference of it last week to this week is that I'm not giving UGA's defense, although I do think UGA's defense is the top defense in the country. My takeaway from that game is I knew what UGA's defense was. Like their defense, the defense didn't impress me because I knew they were a good team. I still saw where for example, Auburn didn't take advantage of what UGA's defense gave them on the play calling side, as well as Bo Nix just didn't perform well.
Sure.
Their offensive line, for example, the interior pass rush that that Georgia was able to get was great, and they did mix it up. However, Auburn's offensive line is not good. Yeah. But my takeaway from the game was the offense. Now I don't think Auburn's defense is we can both agree, and I know you will you've been saying this from day one. Auburn, there's no way in hell. I could see it preseason, but Auburn's not a top. Auburn should bump out of the top 15 this week. Easy. They are not a top 15 to me. They're barely in the top 20, if that. Auburn is not that great of a team this year. And I'm not taking away anything from Georgia. That was a great win. My point being is that the offense is what impressed me more so than anything, just because I want to say it was a lot like the offense last year, but it really it wasn't. And the fact that
I think it was more like the offense from 2 years ago, where
I would say that
where where we had some guys really running the ball well last night.
That's what I'm saying.
Breaks big long touchdown runs or anything, but just 5-6 yards.
7 yards a carry.
Dude, Zamir White was running hard, man.
Yeah.
There was a couple times he would get stood up at the line and he would drive the pile 3 more yards.
But to be fair though, your offensive line looked really well.
Oh yeah.
To be fair, don't get me wrong, Zeus is a monster and would get 2 yards after contact, with 3 guys on him. But Zeus wasn't touched until 5 yards down the field.
Yeah.
So I think that when I'm saying it's going to be your typical Georgia offense, and the fact that I'm talking about 2 years ago, where you're going to have, it's going to be, ground and pound. And essentially the reason it's going to work is because, and the same reason it worked for Jake Fromm in his second year, is because Stetson Bennett looked extremely poised, made all the right decisions, made good throws. I mean, the thing is Stetson Bennett's arm is not great. Stetson Bennett does not have any, for example, Stetson Bennett has no intangibles of a quarterback physically, but he's got the right mindset. He's smart. He's poised. He's not phased. And I think it helps that he's been in that system so long.
Yeah.
But my point is it's going to be the same thing 2 years ago with Fromm. Stetson Bennett is not going to go out there and win you any games, but Stetson Bennett is not going to go out there and lose you any games.
But I think that's the perfect mix for Georgia this season with how good their defense is. Don't get me wrong, I have been the number one proponent of changing the offense. I've told you for the last several years, I think that Kirby wants to change the offense. I think he's trying to. He's had a lot of bumps in the road at quarterback. We've talked about that more on this show than maybe any other singular topic. So we don't have to go into that. But bottom line is you can't change the offense if you don't have the right personnel.
Exactly.
You can't let Juwan Mathis be the starter just because you're trying to change the offense if he's not going to get the job done. The name of the game, I saw an analyst tweet this last night. The name of the game in the SEC is just win.
Yeah.
Win the game. You don't got to look flashy. You don't got to take risks. You just got to win the game. And I think Georgia, with Stetson Bennett, has the best chance to do that with Stetson on the field. Because, like you said,
I would agree.
He's not going to make bad decisions. He's not going to throw a deep ball just to throw a deep ball. He's not going to do those dumb little shovel passes like –
that was the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life.
And I will say this, bro. If you would have told me before the season, before last week, that Stetson Bennett was going to end up our starter, I would have been like, we're in bad shape. But over the course of 2 weeks, man, I've just seen the kid is poised. He's calm. He doesn't get rattled. Several plays last night, he's got Auburn guys in his face, about to take a hit.
I was about to say, under pressure. Under pressure.
Yes, dude, there was one throw where he literally had guys on top of him. He rolled out like to the side you don't want to roll out to, right?
Yep.
He had to roll away from where he would like to go and made a throw on the run. And I'm like, I don't know if I would have trusted Jake Fromm to roll out and make that throw on the run.
I honestly thought that. I was like, I don't think Jake Fromm is eluding that pressure, which is weird to say. But, like, Stetson Bennett might be a little more athletic.
He's faster than I thought. Now, like you said, looking at him, bro, Stetson Bennett fails the eye test.
I literally looked at him last night, and I was like, I remember looking at him at one point last night and was like, holy fuck. Like, this guy just threw against 240 yards against Auburn.
That's what I'm saying. And, like, I've been super impressed with that, and I think we've got enough athletes around that he's going to be able to succeed. He's not going to have a 400-yard game. He's not going to have an insane 79% night or something like that. But he's going to be serviceable. He's not going to throw many interceptions, I don't think. And our defense is great. So, I mean – I'm willing to say this, and I don't think this is too far of a stretch. But I'm willing to say that performance last night will probably be the best that he has all season. But the difference is like the difference between him and Dwayne Mathis is like or JT Daniels is like that's the best performance he's probably going to have all season as far as like I don't even know and I think like on paper it doesn't look like it's anything amazing like a touchdown 240 yards like that's great, don't get me wrong, against Auburn defense. But my difference is that's probably Stetson Bennett's ceiling is probably throwing for maybe a couple more yards and maybe another touchdown or two. Yeah. Like Stetson Bennett's never going to be I'm willing to say Stetson Bennett will probably never throw for 300 yards. Right? And that's a tribute to the offensive line and the running backs as well. But I'm saying that also Stetson Bennett is never going to go out there and throw 3 picks and my point is like the drop off, like that was the best performance he's going to have all season most likely. But the drop off from that is going to be like, okay, he didn't throw for 240 yards, but he threw for 180, and he had a 65% completion rate.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not going to be like he's never going to play abysmal. So,
and I think Kirby is like in a situation too where it's not like when Jake Fromm and Justin Fields happened. Everyone was saying Kirby should give Justin Fields a chance, but Kirby was under the gun because he's got a quarterback who led them to a national championship.
Yeah.
And they're saying to bench him, right?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, too, because Justin
Fields – if he decides to bench Stetson Bennett down the road for Juwan Mathis or JT Daniels, everyone's going to be like, well, Stetson did the best he could for as long as he could. He's walk-on, type of thing. He's not going to have the pressure. Like, if he starts JT Daniels last night and JT Daniels wins this game, and then he has a great game against Tennessee, even if JT Daniels craps the bed against Alabama in a couple weeks, Kirby would have the pressure of keeping him as the starter. Yeah. I don't think that pressure's there to keep Stetson as the starter.
So I think that what's going to end up happening as far as a defense making adjustments to y'all's offense. It's like easier said than done. Obviously, like you have to have Georgia only average like 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And the thing you have to make, really it's going to come down to, you have to make Stetson Bennett make plays. And last night he made those plays, but I also think that, like, you guys, to me, Auburn on the defensive line and linebackers looked very slow to me last night.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like you guys are going to play teams that have more speed. And I think that's where you could get Bennett in trouble as far as having him make plays. But like, for example, like just to give an example, because I know personnel better, like on those rollouts where he's barely missing a sack, like to me, that's a sack against Florida because Florida's faster than Auburn. Right. But like at the same time, if Georgia's averaging 7 yards a carry, it doesn't fucking matter so that's the thing. Is it's like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like bravo. Like if you're a Georgia fan, I was saying, if you're a Georgia fan, that's exactly how you wanted the game to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and my thing is like, I actually feel comfortable now with our quarterback situation, whereas, at the beginning of the season, before we saw any games or anything, I was very uncomfortable with it. And I was very nervous about it and that sort of thing. So I will take this. The one thing I will say about Auburn that I wanted to mention, Tank Bigsby is the real deal.
Yeah, Tank Bigsby is legit.
I wanted him at Georgia. He's from Georgia.
Yeah, he's from Callaway.
Yeah. I really wanted him to end up at Georgia. He kind of got lost in the shuffle with the whole Zach Evans debacle.
Yep.
Because Zach Evans committed, then Tank Bigsby committed to Auburn, and then Zach Evans got in trouble and all that stuff that went down.
Sure.
So I really, really wanted him at Georgia, and now I feel that way even more. I wish he'd ended up in Georgia. But if Auburn doesn't just hand the ball off that man and get him as many touches as possible, they're crazy.
I was going to say, because there's a difference between playing Georgia's defense and every other. Like Tank Bigsby, if you hand him that man was doing solid against Georgia's defense.
Yes.
Even it was funny because like Bo Nix's best play was an incompletion but also Tank Bigsby, like, I don't know how the fuck he caught it, but like Bo Nix dropped the ball over the linebacker's head. Tank Bigsby caught it, and I was like, it was out of bounds, but I was like, damn. So,
and that's the thing is like he was picking up blocks on blitzes. He was running the ball well. He was being a good outlet for Bo Nix to dump it to if he was in trouble. Like, I just think if you're an Auburn fan and you don't love that guy after seeing the way he played last night, you're out of your mind. The other thing I would say about the Georgia-Auburn game, I sent this to you last night. Auburn's my most hated team on earth.
Yep.
In the last 20 years, Georgia is 15-5 against Auburn.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Georgia's 14-6 against.
I'm willing to say this.
We had a worse record against Georgia Tech in the last 20 years than we've had against Auburn.
The only thing that saved Gus Malzahn's job is the couple Alabama wins that he gets. But to me, like,
that man deserves an extension, bro.
Shut up. I know you want him to stay, but like, I just don't see it, man. Like, he's got to go for me. Like, and I know it's easy to say after one. And honestly, if I'm Gus Malzahn, I know my job is like, for example, my job. If I'm Gus Malzahn took emphasis off of. Gus Malzahn's offense is the most successful when Gus Malzahn is calling plays.
Yes.
Don't hand that off the check.
Seems like every year he starts off the year not calling plays, and then by mid-year he's calling plays again.
He's going to take over. Chad Morris was abysmal last night. So that's kind of how I think about it. Good win for Georgia. We can move on to the next game. Honestly, what are you going to say?
I was just going to say.
Final take of Georgia game.
Okay. Typical Gus Malzahn fashion. He's going to lose some games this year that we're like, he looks awful, he should be gone. And then he's going to end up beating. Watch. He'll end up beating.
He's not going to beat Bama.
He's going to – bro, tell me that would not be vintage classic.
That is classic Malzahn, but not this year, dude. That defense is not good enough.
Well, let's just jump in and talk about the Alabama game because those receivers are ridiculous.
So I paid attention to the Alabama game a lot, and I paid attention to the Georgia game a lot. It was kind of like the Alabama game was my 3:30 game, and the Georgia game was my 7:30 game. And I just think because I was paying attention to the Alabama game just because I'm not even worried about Alabama right now. As a Georgia fan, you're probably checking out Alabama to see. For me, we play Texas A&M. Florida plays Texas A&M this upcoming week, so I kind of wanted to see.
Y'all won't play Alabama unless it's in the
SEC championship game. Yeah.
Yep.
So with me, it's like, I mean, it's Alabama, bro. Like, it's the same thing every year as far as the receivers are elite. They're gonna get separation, and they have a guy who can make a deep, accurate pass.
Bro, listen to this. Listen.
I mean, Tua could, but I'm saying, what's up?
Bro, listen to these receiving stats, okay? Hold on, let me get to them. I just had them pulled up. They went away. Dadgummit. Oh, here we go. Receiving stats, okay? Jay Mechie 3 had 5 receptions. His average, what do you think his average reception was?
Who is this?
Jay Mechie. He's one of
Oh, yeah, he went off. Probably, I'm going to say like 14 yards.
36 yards average reception.
Holy fuck.
Waddle, right? 5 receptions. What do you think his average was?
20.
28.4.
Jeez. Yeah.
Smith, 6 receptions. What do you think his average was?
Well, now I'm going to go high. So I'm going to say 2. Actually, I'm going to say 17.
10.
That's still crazy. It's a first down.
Yeah. Najee Harris had 2 receptions. His average was 13. And then Forrestall, that tight end, had 2 receptions. His average was 11.5. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5 leading receivers on Alabama's team had at least 2 receptions apiece and all average double-digit yards.
So do you want to know why?
Like what?
Honestly, do you want to know why that Saban is wanting to change his offense? I'm sorry, Kirby.
Because I mean that's just the trend in college football in general.
Correct, but like my point is Saban knew that. Saban made those adjustments and got a Lane Kiffin, and then from there Steve Sarkisian, and that offense hasn't looked back. Like think about Alabama used to play exactly how Georgia plays: pound the rock, have a serviceable quarterback that's poised, right? And so I think Kirby's seeing that trend as well as like Kirby's Nick Saban's like mini-me or like tries to be. So it's like,
bro, see, I think that's a misconception. I think that all of football is going this way. Like to say Kirby's, you know what I mean? Like LSU did the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you, but like, yeah, I mean, and the thing with Texas A&M too, just thinking about them, like,
well, dude, this is crazy. I'm looking at the rushing stats for Alabama. Let's see, 103, 113.
They tore them up.
No. Alabama only had 118 rushing yards.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's what I'm saying. But, like, why do you need to run the ball when Jalen Waddles has 10 yards of separation?
I know.
I mean, I'm with you.
But what I'm saying is that's how good they are. They're not even having to establish a run game to put up those kind of crazy.
Oh, I know. That's my point, though. Like, Alabama would have had 300 yards rushing on them 6 years ago. But, like, my point is I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of how I saw the game going. I thought Texas A&M's offense would be able to hang around, but I thought Alabama would be too much for them.
Bro, Mac Jones is really good, man. I think he's way better than people give him credit for.
I think he's good, but at the same time, like you know, I could throw a couple of TDs with Waddle.
Like, I don't know if you could throw it far enough to get it.
Probably not, but like at that point, like
runs too fast.
Bro, have him run a slant and that man just goes. Like, so, I mean,
there were 2 plays yesterday where I was like, actually probably 3, but 3 plays yesterday where I was like, this is what it means to have SEC speed. One was the play for Georgia where they threw that swing pass and our safety came downhill and made the play. The second one was on Waddle's like 60 or 70-yard touchdown, whatever it was. Just the way he blew past Texas A&M defenders like that.
He faked the dig route and then took it to a streak and freaking blew past him.
When I say this man was moving, he was.
He's gone, bro.
Fast. And then there's a third play I'll tell you about when we get to that game. But just seeing the speed on those guys, man, on those receivers, we even were texting about it. Like the receivers for Alabama are ridiculous. Ridiculous.
My notes kind of going into the into the just taking Texas A&M and just looking at it from Florida's perspective is like Kellen Mond, you can't let Kellen Mond tear you up. Like if Kellen Mond's on, he's going to do his thing. And like the thing is like Texas A&M's whole season is going to rely on that man's back. How that man plays is how well they're going to do.
Yeah,
so
well, I would not feel good about that if I was them.
Well, that's I think that I don't want our defense to make Kellen Mond look like and I'm starting to get into Florida a little bit, but I don't want our defense to let Kellen Mond look better than he is.
Yeah.
And that's just, and I'm kind of worried about that going into this week's game. But I mean, A&M, to be fair, A&M's out a lot of receivers. There are 3 starting receivers that were supposed to be returning, and all studs who had size are all opted out or out for the season. So, to me, I think Texas A&M's defense is not good. I mean, it is what it is. Honestly, that game is kind of what I expected. I wasn't expecting 50 points from Alabama. I was expecting maybe like 35-14. But in the same thing, it's it's the same. It was kind of like the Florida Ole Miss game. Like both put up their numbers and it's fine, but obviously one team is just way better than the other.
Yeah, and I think Texas A&M falls into the same category that Auburn does for me, in the sense of what is it about Jimbo and Texas A&M that people and Kellen Mond that they give them the benefit of the doubt every year? Like they haven't shown us who they are.
They're just a big, SEC school with a lot of publicity, a lot of press, big fan. I know, I'm with you. I'm with you, but I'm saying that's why they get all the preseason hype.
I'm just tired of these fools being so hyped up, and then they don't beat anybody. They don't beat anybody.
Yeah.
I know it's Alabama. I know that. But last week, they only beat Vandy by 5 points.
Yeah. I mean,
LSU, who got beat last week by a team no one thought was going to beat them, tuned up Vandy 41-7.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a combination of
and Texas A&M, 17-12.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, though, I'm not gonna play that game where it's oh, this team beat that team by this much. So
no,
that means,
but I'm just saying LSU. But teams when a team like LSU is hyped up, it makes sense. When a team like Georgia's hyped up, it makes sense. When a team like Florida's hyped up or Alabama's hyped up, it makes sense. Why are Auburn and Texas A&M? There were people picking Texas A&M to finish and go to the playoff.
Yeah, because they were stupid.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think Texas A&M will probably finish. I'm not too impressed with the West this year. I think actually LSU will probably finish second.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alabama's the clear favorite at this point, especially with LSU doing what they did.
I mean, I think Auburn will finish third. I don't know. I mean,
it's going to get messy because Mike Leach – we can talk about the Mississippi State game, I guess, next. But it's going to get messy because Mike Leach is going to still win some games that people don't –
Well, that's like for anyone introduced to Mike Leach, this is exactly what happens.
Yep. Hey, this is what the air raid offense looks like.
Exactly.
Some weeks, looks rough others.
Yep. I mean, KJ Costello had the fucking performance of his lifetime. Everyone's give him the Heisman. And he throws 3 picks last week. I mean, that's just how it – and we'll get into that later. But – I have a soft spot for Arkansas a little bit, and honestly, we'll get into some of those details and kind of but yeah, I mean, with Mississippi State and that shit, that's how it is. If they're not, I mean, obviously that was a surprise. There's no excuse for them to lose to Arkansas, but that's Mike Leach. He's going to win games. When his team's on, he's unbeatable, and they're throwing for 700 yards and 6 touchdowns, and you're like, what do I do? And if they're off, they're looking terrible.
And I think we can go ahead and talk about this game. Arkansas 21, Mississippi State 14. I think the big takeaway for me here is if you're Mike Leach and you're running the offense you're running, if you hold a team to 21 points, you should win.
Oh, yeah.
Even in a bad game, the air raid offense should put up 28 and 35 points. And my problem, but the reason last year, before Mike Leach even got hired, we talked about how we wish he would get hired in the SEC. The reason I love the idea of the air raid in the SEC is because you're pairing a very high-powered, fast offense with a conference that recruits defense well, and that is traditionally a defensive conference. And those two things, that's why I like the idea of Georgia changing the offense, because those two things together to me seem really good. And your defense played well, Mike Leach. I mean, they shut them out in the fourth quarter, 21 total points, and one of them was a defensive touchdown. So really the defense only gave up 14 points and in the game.
That's the thing too, is like for Mike Leach, like to me, if he pounds the rock with Kylan Hill, they win that game and they win it. They win it by a couple of touchdowns. But the difference is like, if you look at the SEC personnel, you look at Arkansas. Arkansas, out of offense, defense, everything, their strongest personnel group is their DBs.
Yeah.
Right? And you fed right into that. So
you got to – I mean, yeah, you definitely – I think Mike Leach, and this goes for any coach, you have to be able to change it up and do something different. One of the reasons I've always disliked the triple option offense is because you get behind and then you have no shotgun package. You can't do anything.
Yep.
And the air raid's like the inverse of that, right? You don't have any like power, packages. You don't have any, between the tackle stuff that you.
And that's the difference between the SEC too. Like there's a time and there's when you play SEC football, there's going to be games where you're going to win or lose, whether just based on the fact if you can put your head down and tote the fucking rock.
Bro, I didn't get to watch this whole game. I just got to like tune in and out a few times. Did Kylan Hill get hurt or something?
I was kind of in and out because it was on an alternate network. I don't think he got hurt.
He has one reception. For 7 yards.
Did he get hurt?
Who's running?
Oh, no. I'm thinking about the Kentucky year.
And he's not on the receiving stats page.
Let me look it up. Kylan.
He had to have gotten hurt. There's no way they gave the backup running backs more touches than Kylan Hill if he wasn't.
So they said absence. So let me see. Kylan Hill, of course, you have to pay for this article, so probably not going to see that. I think he might have been hurt. Yeah, he went out with an injury.
Okay,
so
that makes more sense why he didn't have touches then.
So he went out with he went out early in the game too.
Dude, that's a big loss for them if he's hurt for more than just this week.
Oh yeah, because he's a good pass catching back too. Like he's
really good. Felipe Franks 20 for 20.
I know, good for him. I'm excited for him. I'm glad for him.
Now he didn't have a crazy yardage line, a stat as far as yards, but still 20 for 28, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Good for him. No, I'm glad. I'm a Felipe Franks. I like Felipe Franks. I'm rooting for him. He left Florida respectively, and I'm rooting for the kid. So good for him.
Actually, kind of rooting for him too. I never liked him when he was at Florida. I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. There's one Florida quarterback I can think of in the last, my whole life that I've liked, and that's Tim Tebow. And he kind of transcends the rivalry thing.
Sure.
But I'm rooting for him, man. I really like Sam Pittman. Oddly enough, you have a connection to Arkansas through Grace's dad. My mom lived in Arkansas when she was little, and her family has always kind of rooted for Arkansas.
Yeah, so I called him last night, and he was on like cloud 9. He's like,
"Oh, I'm sure, man.
No more SEC." I know. It's funny.
No one picked this.
No, Arkansas. If you bet $10, you won $50 last night on Arkansas.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you bet $100, you won $500. Like
KJ Costello went 43 of 59 for 300 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
Yeah. So,
and one of those interceptions was for a touchdown.
Yep. And that was just a bad ball. I saw it. It was just not a good throw.
Oh yeah, I saw it too. It was like it was
behind him,
head of the guy.
It was behind the guy, and there was a dig route, threw it behind. There was a safety sitting there and took it.
I thought it was like a little zig where the guy went inside and then was coming back out, and he threw it too early. That's what I thought.
They were playing zone. Corner stayed on far left field. Safety came down to cover the dig route. He threw it behind the guy. The corner was sitting there in the zone and just picked it off and took it. But
I mean, it's
I
like
don't know,
you
I have to look at the
said,
play.
this is kind of what you see out of air raid teams. I'm hoping that Mississippi State eventually gets to a point where they're more stable with it, because I think it'd be really awesome to keep Mike Leach around for a long time. But dude, can you think about the whiplash of beating the defending national champs away, then losing to Arkansas at home?
Oh yeah, no, it was bad.
Imagine how their fans feel.
Oh yeah, their fans probably feels
Like literally,
like
you went from
their fans were on
greatest
cloud
start
nine.
to
I know.
Arkansas had not won a conference game
In 20 consecutive games, so 2 seasons, like 2.5 seasons.
That's like honestly hard to believe. That
Chad Morris never won an SEC football game.
Gosh.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. And to a team that lost to like North Texas last year. So,
Oh man.
yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, it's interesting. But we'll get into the other Mississippi school too. I was kind of interested to see this game just because I think it was going to be like, I was interested to see how good was Kentucky going to be this year, as well as how good was Ole Miss's offense going to look, because they obviously put up some big numbers against Florida.
Yep.
And what I came to the conclusion is that Kentucky's not that good this year. They'll probably win 5 or 6 games, and their peak probably 7-5, are sitting at 0-2, and then I think Ole Miss has work to do on the defense for sure, but yeah. Ole Miss's offense was legit. Matt Corral looked really well.
Yeah, but and this is like, obviously, like, they played Florida last week, and
sure.
we're balancing out, the fact that you're a Florida fan and I'm a Georgia fan.
Well, no, you can say it, because I already know. Like, don't get me wrong, dude. Like,
but I mean, Kentucky's defense is like.
Yeah, no, Florida's defense needs work, but I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you're still playing Florida and Kentucky, who have good personnel on the defense, and great
returning coaches and coordinators.
Yeah, correct. Coordinators who are both good.
Yeah.
So at that point, like, and it's the SEC. Like, to me,
if you're putting up for sure, Lane Kiffin, but the 2 new SEC coaches that were not even coordinators in the SEC last year. This is about as good of a start they could have asked for, to be 1-1, 2 games into the schedule.
Sure.
Ole Miss offense is clicking, obviously. You don't see new offenses click that fast usually.
Well, Lane Kiffin, say what you want to say about him, but the man is an offensive guru.
Yeah, he is, for sure. No doubt. But it's still, just anytime you have a change in style or coaching or anything like that, you're gonna.
I mean, I don't really want to. I mean, we don't have to deep dive too much in this game. Like, it was a good game between like 2 like subpar SEC teams.
Yeah.
Like, so
I think Kentucky's battling a little bit of, like, people always say, like, they got to learn to win. They got to expect to win. I think Kentucky's battling some of that, man. Like, this game, it's in overtime. They miss a PAT.
Yeah, that was bad. Their kicker's a booty hole. Kentucky really should have won that game.
Man, that's so rough. And
Kentucky's field goal kicker missed one. He missed the field goal, and he missed an extra point.
And that's the kind of thing that, to me, is like, and I'm a coach, so this is just the way I think about things. Your defense and offense are playing really hard. It's a really good game. Your kicker misses a field goal, and now your defense and offense are like, can we do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what we always thought, like, and, this is coach speak, but it's true. Like, when you're playing, especially in the SEC and on an SEC-only schedule, like, you're going to play teams that have a good defense and good offense. The difference is going to be special teams. So, like, Georgia, for example, the reason that they've been so successful in the first 2 weeks is because of special teams, and not even punting or not even kicking. I'm talking about y'all's. I think you guys missed 1 field goal. Like, your kicker is, it's not Rodrigo Blankenship, but your punters is great. And I saw a stat where, like, I think for like the first like 4 or 5 possessions, like y'all were starting in like plus territory.
Yeah, and we were gashing like everybody on returns right now. Like if our guys return it, we're gaining 15, 20 yards.
Yeah, so that's where I think like like obviously special teams makes a difference, especially in like these close games. So
oh yeah, for sure.
You know, Kentucky should have won that game, but good for
I
Lane
still
Kiffin.
think Kentucky is could finish third in the East. I still think Mark Stoops is a really good coach. I just think that you're dealing with like Georgia's not dealing with culture issues. Florida's not dealing with culture issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kentucky's dealing with culture issues. They're having to change the belief system and the makeup of fans, administration, players, all of that. And I'm sorry, but a few 7-5, 8-4 seasons.
Well, they had the 110. They had the 110 win, but it was like, can you continue that?
Saying, like, it takes time to change.
Yeah. It's easy to win 10 games one season. It's hard to do it in back-to-back season. That's the
and that's where I think we really see the elite programs and programs and coordinators and head coaches stand out is those teams that can do it over and over again. Florida, for all the crap I give Florida and I give you, Dan Mullen has won 10 games. And despite losing games that he shouldn't lose at times, the team doesn't tank. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you guys lose to Mizzou 2 years ago, you could have easily been like, let's pack it up, call it quits. Last year, losing to Georgia in a year where people thought, you guys had a really good chance. Y'all could have been like, you know what, we're just going to tank and not play well or whatever. But it doesn't happen because the coaching is there, the culture is there, the belief is there. Kentucky doesn't have that belief still, I don't think.
Yeah, and that's there's the speech that Dan Mullen gave after we lost to Mizzou, and since then we've won 18 of our past 20 games, and it was like, he's like, yo, the reason we lost this game is because the attitude in our locker room. Like, if you're not willing to step out in the field and want to beat somebody's ass every single play, then what the hell are you doing here? Like, he said that. He's like, this is University of Florida. If you're not competitive and you don't want to beat somebody's ass in everything and everything that you do, then get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. Let's go ahead and talk about the Florida game because it's interesting you said that to me because me and you both talked yesterday. Florida looked good on offense throughout the game.
Well, I wouldn't actually. I would say so. As a Florida fan, I'm actually pretty disappointed with the game, only for this reason. Like, we should have beat South Carolina way worse than we did.
I agree.
And I think I'm not the defense. The problem was last week our offense would look like it was the best fucking offense in the country, and then our defense looked. Our defense didn't look terrible, but compared to what we're used to, our defense was bad. And this week our defense stepped up and our offense took a step down, in my opinion. Like, for example, there's no reason South Carolina has a better defense than Ole Miss, but there's no reason we shouldn't have put at least, we should have put 40 on them and maybe even 50. And my point, and so I'll get into the offense real quick as far as I think it was a combination of, obviously Kyle Trask came out, lights out again, and in the first 2.5 quarters was just wheeling and dealing. We were looking and then, I think there was a couple play calls where I was like, why are we doing that? And I could tell it could get us into some trouble where it was example with our defense is I'm not too upset with the defense. The defense has a lot of work to do. Even Dan Mullen said that. But South Carolina scored 2 of their touchdowns off 2 Florida turnovers.
Yep.
And it's and the 2 Florida turnovers were from Florida's offense trying to get too fancy. And I think it was a mixture of Florida's offense trying to get too fancy as well as Kyle Trask feeling himself a little bit.
Yep.
The first one was just, why are you running right now? Don't run a read option with Kyle Trask and have him keep the ball.
Yeah, bro.
And that's where he fumbled, right? So, and Kyle's had trouble fumbling the ball.
He fumbled against Georgia last year.
Yeah, and me and Bryce talked about this too. Kyle, the thing that Kyle's going to fumble the ball, but the difference between him not having as many fumbles as he did last year is Kyle Trask, since Auburn game on, has had some of the best pocket presence I've seen in a quarterback in a while. Like if you look at him, he steps up in the pocket, he makes the right plays, he squares up his shoulders, he delivers. And so I think with the fumble, that was just like why. Then there's 7 of South Carolina's 24 points or whatever it was, and then you have and then we try to get too fancy. We're up by 3 scores, and you go 3 pass plays in a row where South Carolina is just bringing a shit ton of pressure, just trying to get Kyle Trask to feel uncomfortable, and he makes 3 bad.
Yeah, throwing it.
The throws weren't bad throws, but they weren't like he's not making those decisions. Like he's throwing it into coverage where he's hoping his guys make plays.
He's just letting it go to let it go.
Yeah, like he's just like whatever.
Away on those 3.
Yeah, and the interception, I'm not mad about for 2 reasons. Number one, Kadarius Toney slipped, and I don't think it's an interception if he doesn't slip. I don't think it's a complete pass, but I don't think it's an interception. And number 2 is the interception was not an interception, hit the ground. But whatever, like it is what it is. I don't really care. They didn't, But yeah, I mean the defense needs work. That going into next week, thinking about Texas A&M. Like I said, we just need to make sure that Kellen Mond isn't out here. Like we can't make Kellen Mond look better than he is. And then on the offensive side of the ball, like I think A&M's gonna kind of go into a all practice. They're gonna be focused on pass defense because Alabama gashed them in the past, and like obviously we have that ability.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Florida, you don't get away from that. Like you obviously light up Texas A&M on the passing side, but I think that if you're Florida, you have to establish the run early against A&M and show like, hey, we can fuck y'all on both sides.
Yeah, I think for me, what stood out is mainly for Florida is just the fourth quarter. First quarter 14 points, second quarter 10 points, third quarter 14 points, fourth quarter 0 points.
And to be fair, I think we only had 1 possession in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I think I'm saying like when you have an elite offense, like I believe Florida does this year, you're going to have teams who are going to make those adjustments like Muschamp, where it's like, hey, we need to keep the clock. We need to. I mean, they won time of possession by a whole quarter.
Yeah.
Like 15 minutes or whatever it was. So
I can tell you this: if y'all had been playing against a team that coach was a better clock manager, it would have been a 1-score game. And
yes, we would have won. We would have won, but
yeah. But I'm just saying, like y'all won by 14. Of better clock management by the South Carolina. Y'all could be in a 1-score game, and it could be dicey. And I just didn't see, man, like, you were talking about Dan Mullen having that speech of being like, hey, you got to come out of the locker room every single day wanting to compete and beat people just to beat people. And I didn't see that from Florida in the fourth quarter.
No, that's my problem with the offense, too. It was like I think the defense stepped up and made big plays when they needed to. And obviously, like, there was a couple of balls that were dropped that went our way that, like, we were fortunate. Yeah. But I think that, like, to me, what makes me mad and what, like, Florida's about, like, when Florida's at its best and when we've won national championships, our offense has obviously been elite all those years with Spurrier and then Mullen and Tebow. But the difference is that it's like whether we're up a touchdown or whether we're up 5 touchdowns, like with our mentality when Urban was the coach and with Dan as the OC and Spurrier was – I don't care how much we're up. We're going to go down the field and we're going to fucking score a touchdown. I don't care. Yeah. Like that's –
I think the thing. If you're going to be a high-powered offense and your team is going to be the type of team that runs down the field, sticks in the end zone, and basically says, our defense doesn't have to play great because we're going to put up 45, 50 points, then be that.
Be that for 4 quarters.
Yes.
Because we were that for 2.5. But we weren't – but then, like, it was like, okay, well, we're up by 3 touchdowns, so maybe we can take our foot off the gas. Like, does it really matter? And then you put your defense in a tricky situation.
Yep. And so that's exactly what I felt in Georgia last night, too, is like I was scared at the end of the game the defense was going to quit making plays. We were going to give up a touchdown or something. Yeah. It's going to look closer than it should be. As a coach and as a fan, there's nothing I hate more than there being a game where we dominate the whole game, but the end score looks like they could play with us.
Sure.
And Georgia's defense didn't do that. They, like, held them to field goals, whatever. And as a Florida fan, if I was a fan or if I was a coach, I'd be like, guys, I want us to see us put people away. Like,
oh yeah,
letting teams hang around with us.
And that's the thing. Like, I think it's going to be, and that's the one thing as a Florida fan and like, as a coaching perspective, like, I don't want Florida to be this year to where our offense is so elite to where our defense doesn't think they have to be as good.
Yeah.
Like, I want, like, if our defense plays like it did last year with our offense this year, I mean, we have a great chance to compete for a national championship.
Bro, if y'all's defense played like y'all did last year in this game and y'all's offense was on the level it is right now, y'all would have won like 50-10 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I really thought we should have won that game. We really should have won that game like 48-17.
Dude, that's 2 games, and that's my thing with Florida right now is that's 2 games in a row where anyone watching the game would be like, Florida's a much better team than the person they're playing, but it looks close.
Well, that's like, and I'm not going to look too much into it for this reason. This was only, and I'm not trying to make excuses because, like, obviously the thing is I'm not looking too much into it right now because we're going to find out what Florida's made of in this 3-game stretch here with LSU, Texas A&M, and Missouri.
This next 3-game stretch is like, or 3-game stretch is so important for the East.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so like, for me, it's like, to me, I think, you can make excuses for a defense who didn't have spring, who didn't tackle for the first 2 weeks. But if you had 3 full weeks of practice to where you're doing your shit, to me, you gotta start showing some real signs of improvement. So that's what I'm looking forward to the A&M game. Offense is going to be there. I mean, our offense, what's crazy about it is our offense really only played 2 complete quarters, and we still looked amazing.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about Florida's offense this year, as well as, Florida had 4 receivers that are on 4 NFL receivers last year on the roster that are on NFL, that are, getting playing time on NFL teams this year. And so I was a little bit worried, but like we have playmakers on our offense, and like Pitts, obviously, like he's obviously a receiver. He blocks as the tight end, and that's something he's worked on. But like Pitts is like could be the best receiver in the country if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Then you have Kadarius Toney, who's taken giant leaps as far as like.
That's the guy I was most impressed with. Watching Florida. Like that's the 3rd play where I was like, this is what SEC speed means, is when he caught that ball and split 5 defenders on the way.
Yeah, and just fucking went to the house. And like, and if you watch him, like every time you watch him, you just never know, because like that man, like literally 2 guys came on top of him to tackle him, he ducked underneath it and took it for a first down. Like it's just little shit like that. Yeah. And like and the thing that, like, for example, with Florida's offense that makes me think that we can compete for a national championship and win the East is not only do we have those playmakers, but like, for example, we have Kyle Trask, who's willing and dealing, but our receivers, we have Kyle Pitts, 6'6", Justin Shorter, 6'5", Trayvon Grimes, 6'4". Like, you have these guys who are big that can give, for example, could give a Georgia who has an elite defense trouble with their size. Like Georgia's, like, for example, like a Kadarius Toney is going to be limited to Georgia because Georgia can match that speed, right? But like Georgia does have great DBs, don't get me wrong, but like I don't care how great of a DB you are. You see this in the NFL all the time. You can be in a lockdown defender in coverage, but if you're going up against someone who's 6'5", 6'6", you're already automatically at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So it's like, and Kyle Trask has been, except for, that one drive where he just didn't look good. He's been, the accuracy that he's had, like some of these throws he had yesterday, I'm like, damn, like he's dropping them in places where only those guys can get it. And make some plays. Obviously, the receivers are making those plays, so it makes them look good too. But
you guys have after A&M?
We have A&M, then LSU, then Missouri.
So I thought we each had 2 more games than a bye.
No, I thought about this. You guys have Tennessee, then you have Alabama, then you have Kentucky.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So and then a bye, then y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm interested to see Florida against, maybe LSU is that game for y'all where you've got a D line that is, putting pressure on Trask.
Sure.
Because I think that's really looking to the future, I think right now the questions about Georgia are not as strong, and it's probably going to be a 2-horse race in the East. And that game's going to be really important. I'm wondering, how does our defense match up against your offense? How do our DBs match up against Kyle
That's what
Pitts?
I'm thinking.
How does our speed match up with y'all's? And so I'm interested to see what you guys look like against the D-line that's, caliber.
That's why I'm interested to see y'all versus Alabama. I think our receiving cores are different because Alabama's more speed than size. But,
For sure.
I'm still looking to see how y'all do against, because Alabama at this point to me can be considered like an air raid type of offense.
Clemson, I don't know how, Clemson won their game, but it was pretty pedestrian. It wasn't anything insane. How is Alabama not number one?
Yeah, I mean they might jump up, but Clemson just
I doubt it.
Until they lose. It's kind of the same year with people would say Alabama a couple of years ago when Clemson looked better than Alabama, it was how is Clemson not number one? But it was just Alabama until they get knocked off, they're going to be number one.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with that, but yeah, quiet. But
go ahead.
I just was I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks. We'll find out what Florida's defense is made out of. And we'll figure it out. I mean, I'm excited. I said last night, I just wish I had the movie Click where Adam Sandler has the remote.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could just hit the fast forward button and just beat us next Saturday already. I'm at that point where the week I'm just is it game day? Is it game day?
I know. We got 2 more games. One is, pretty easy to cover because it's not really much of a game. But I was really pretty impressed with Tennessee's performance against Missouri.
Yeah.
Obviously, Missouri's not a great team, but I mean, Tennessee's 2-0 in SEC play. And
I think Tennessee. So, for Georgia, I think this will be a good test for Tennessee. And just my initial thoughts on Tennessee are this: Tennessee is a good football team. They will be a good football team this year. But I still think there is a difference between Georgia and Florida, and then I think it's Georgia, Florida, and then Tennessee.
Yeah, for sure.
So to me, it's Tennessee's good. And I honestly, I really believe that Tennessee will give you guys a harder test than Auburn will.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Florida fan and I want to see that. I just believe that it's not even Auburn has better person. I think Tennessee's defense is better than Auburn's defense.
Yeah.
But I think from an offensive side, Auburn has I don't know. By the way, Tennessee, the reason Tennessee is going to be so good this year is because they have arguably the best offensive line in the SEC.
Yep.
So
I
think
they're running the ball really well. They had over 200 yards rushing this week.
Yeah, because they're offensive line, and so that's what I'm trying to see. I think that'll be a good matchup for Georgia, just to kind of see. I mean, I think it'll be a type of I think it'll be, I don't know. I was going to say 35-17, but I don't think it'll be that high scoring. I'm thinking 28 to a 14 type of game where Tennessee can kind of.
I don't really know what I predict as far as what they'll score on us.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
it's because even this week I predicted a 30-15 win for UGA against Auburn. And
I mean, you were kind of close.
I was close, but we held Auburn to single digits, man.
Oh yeah.
So it's hard for me to know what our
I think
what our ceiling is right now for defense.
And to be fair, if you're a Georgia fan, and I think you'd feel the same way as far as what I'm saying is we've talked about how Georgia's defense is elite, but I think we can both agree that Auburn's offense, that's the worst game they're going to have all season. And credit to Georgia's defense because they made them play that way, but at the same time, that was just the worst thing. Number one, Georgia's defense is elite, but the play calling and Bo Nix both suck.
Yeah. So if you play bad against Georgia's defense, you're in for a very long night.
Which is exactly what happened.
A very long night. And that's why I'm holding off on a prediction because I don't know what the ceiling is for our defense yet. If you said Tennessee scored 17 points on us, I wouldn't be surprised. And if you said that we shut them out, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at because, like you said, I do feel like we played well last night, but I feel like Auburn played really, really bad too.
Dog shit.
Yes, really bad. So,
hey, you beat the dog shit out of them.
Classic. But I don't think they're going to rush for 200-plus yards.
No. Garantano's going to have to – if they're going to have any type of chance in that game, Garantano's really going to have to step up.
Yeah.
And we'll see if he has that in him. So
I don't know. And he was 14 and 23 for 190, 1 touchdown.
No, that's what but at the same time, when you're Garantano in that type of game where your running back's going off, you kind of don't feel that pressure. So it's can he step up to the pressure or does he fold?
I mean, Eric Gray averaged 6 yards a carry, almost 7. And then actually their other 2 backs averaged over 4 yards a carry.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Their offensive line is good this year.
Yeah.
So, I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for that game.
Garantano had let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Garantano had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Damn. So I mean,
but he had 10 attempts for 14 yards.
So it was okay, here, take your So nothing really, but the thing with I mean, that's a 3:30 game. CBS. My buddy who's a producer for CBS.
Oh, it's definitely Georgia's definitely had a CBS slot now. Tennessee won, and they were already ranked. So
it was either going to be Florida and Texas A&M or Georgia and
that's true. It could be Florida, Texas A&M.
No. They've already announced it's not.
Oh, they did announce it.
No. Yeah, and they picked the correct choice. And then the last game, what are you going to say?
I think that Tennessee's always got a good offensive line. They're rushing the ball really well, but it's just, can you do that against an elite defense is the question. And I liked Jeremy Pruitt as our DC when he was at Georgia. I really wish Kirby didn't have such a contentious relationship, because I would have liked him to stay another year. But
I'm looking at Tennessee's schedule, and I just think I think Tennessee will have that type of year, kind of I think Tennessee will have a good year as far as expectations go, because I feel like Tennessee is probably going to win every game they should and lose every game they should.
Who are the games that you think they should lose to? Us, y'all, who else?
And Alabama.
That's it?
I mean, they play A&M. I mean, Tennessee does have a hard schedule. They play A&M and Auburn. I think they draw. I think Tennessee. Yeah.
Hot take. I'm going to say they beat Auburn.
No.
They should definitely win, I think. But
I think
people will probably pick Auburn. I'm going to say Tennessee.
I think the ceiling for Tennessee right now is 7-3, and I think the floor is dude,
if they go 7-3, they will be so happy.
Oh, I know. That's
7-3, and you only lose to Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. That's a dream.
That's what I'm saying. That's their ceiling. So,
but it's really tough for them too, because 2 of their rivals are Florida and Georgia, and they play them every year. And their biggest rival is Alabama.
They're fucked.
Dude, they have to – Jeremy Pruitt literally walked into maybe the worst job in America for the competition you have to play.
And then this year they had their 2 West matchups were A&M, who, is a top, is a top – I mean, is a good team. I mean, I'm not going to shit on them just yet. And then Auburn, who's Auburn's a good team. Auburn's not – A&M and Auburn aren't what they were or what we thought they were going to be.
But if you're South Carolina or Tennessee's head coach, you've got to be what did I do to deserve this? I play Florida and Georgia every year, and then one of my non-conference games is Clemson. Or if you're Tennessee, I play Florida and Georgia every year, and we have a built-in rivalry game with Alabama.
But that's what makes the elite teams different. For example, when Florida was elite, Florida plays LSU, Georgia, and then obviously not right now because they're the laughing stock of college football. But Florida State was a strong. So it's
recently that wasn't a really hard
so. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I still think Tennessee's a good football program, so we'll see. But
yeah, me too. All right, last game of the week is LSU Vandy. This one went exactly how it should have went.
Yeah.
Miles Brennan, took some steps in the right direction. The LSU offense took some steps in the right direction, but it's Vandy. This is what you should do against Vandy. Joe Burrow and what could have scored 100 on Vandy last year if they really.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not it is what it is. Like LSU did exactly what they needed to do. They came in, they didn't make it close. Like, because if this game would have been any closer than it was, like even if this game was 35-14, like we would have been like LSU,
The
But
most interesting thing to me about this game is that LSU's rushing yards, they had right at 200 yards. Let's see, 133. They had a little less than 200 rushing yards. That's a lot of rushing yards for that offense.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, I still don't think. To me, I'm still not impressed with Miles.
No.
I mean, Miles Brennan, like, to me, is not like everyone had a lot of, and I think he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Like, but I also think like the difference is like how do you do the following act of Joe Burrow? So. I think Miles Brennan's a good quarterback. I just don't think, like, if anyone thought he was going to come in here and be the next Joe Burrow, then you were sorely mistaken.
There were definitely people who thought that.
There were people. That's why I'm saying that. Honestly, I don't even want to talk. Like, this game to me is, LSU did what they needed to do. This is exactly what happened.
To me, this was the least important game of the week.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, I don't even – we could spend 2 seconds on this game. Congratulations to LSU. You did what you needed to do. You came back after a tough loss and put up good numbers. Vanderbilt, you pulled a Vanderbilt, sorry.
Dude, Derek Mason's got to be gone after this year if he –
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. We'll see.
He might go 0-10.
He might. He just might.
What name an SEC? They won't beat Arkansas.
They could beat Arkansas. They could beat Arkansas. They could potentially try to – like, Vanderbilt always kind of keeps it close. Yeah, they play Arkansas.
They do? Okay.
I think they play I believe they play – I mean, I know they play Kentucky, which I think like they could try to keep it. They could potentially pull one out there, depending on kind of how that goes. So, I mean,
they play South Carolina this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think South Carolina is going to go their middle of the pack type of. So like they play
Arkansas. They do not play Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean
they play Mississippi State.
Believe it or not, like, would that not be on par for Vanderbilt? Would it not be on par for Vanderbilt to beat Mississippi State for no fucking reason?
Dude.
But, like, that's what I'm saying. Maybe in Missouri, I don't know. Like, I think there's still a lot of question marks for a lot of teams in the SEC, so it's just tough to tell right now.
Yeah, it's still early. Well, hey, let's hit one shout-out apiece, and we'll close this thing out. I can hit mine first. Mine is Tank Bigsby. Listen, brother.
How about that?
They are being really fast and loose with transfer rules right now.
Yep.
You're not even losing eligibility for this year, man. So if you got the feeling on Saturday night that you really wish you had come to Georgia, let's just go on and make that jump, brother.
Bro, I
don't think with open arms.
I don't think
George Pickens was supposed to be at Auburn.
But he didn't go to Auburn. Hey, talking about five-star running backs transferring. Shout out! This is not my shout out, so I don't want to say shout out. But DeMarcus Bowman, baby, what's up? Welcome to Gainesville.
Yep.
Number two overall recruit last year. But my shout out is a guy who I think genuinely is just like a really good person, and like I don't know how you can root against him. And I'm excited. I think that he's going to bring Arkansas football back to like somewhat of a competency, especially and hopefully get them to where they're competing in the SEC West, and that's Sam Pittman. Shout out to Sam Pittman. So got his first win, broke that streak against a ranked team nonetheless, and so
yes sir.
Yes sir. I know, bro. And so shout out to Sam Pittman because he just seems like a really cool guy, and I just like rooting for him. I just seem like I understand why players want to go play for him. I just feel like he just is like he's a guy that is going to have your back and is going to be there for you no matter what, and is always going to kind of be, be that coach that sends you the happy birthday text when you're 40, that type of guy. So good for Sam Pittman. Shout out to Sam Pittman. Hopefully it's not their only win this season. Hopefully they lose to Florida, but
I think they'll win some more. I don't know what their final record will be, but I don't think they'll only win.
That's the thing too. Like we talk about. I think other than like the Floridas, the Alabamas, and the Georgias, like you're looking at a lot of teams right now with question marks, and we're like, well, we think we'll win. They'll win there and they'll win there, but like this is the first year where I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, man. Well, let's wrap this thing up. I will talk to you next week, brother. Have a good one.
Holla, bud.